6 NBA teams are desperately trying to trade for Anthony Davis right now, even though he's injured and his current team is calling him a liar. This has become one of the most bizarre trade situations in recent NBA history. Just 2 weeks ago, Anthony Davis suffered what looked like a serious hand injury against the Utah Jazz. Initial reports suggested he'd need surgery and miss months of action, but then something strange happened. Davis jumped on social media, calling these reports outright lies and pushing back hard against the narrative. When the official diagnosis came back, it confirmed what Davis claimed all along. Just 6 weeks of recovery, no surgery needed. But this drama exposed something much bigger brewing behind the scenes. While everyone focused on Davis's hand, 6 different NBA teams have been quietly circling like sharks, each convinced they can land one of the league's most talented but injury-prone superstars. The catch? His current team, the Dallas Mavericks, seems more than willing to let him go. And Davis's agent, the notorious Rich Paul, is working overtime to make it happen. Let's start with why Dallas is so eager to move on from a player they traded for just last season. When the Mavericks acquired Davis from the Lakers in exchange for Luka Doncic, it looked like a franchise-altering move. Instead, it's been a disaster. Davis has played just 29 games since arriving in Dallas. 29 games. He's missed more than half the season already due to 4 separate injuries, and the Mavericks have spiraled to a dismal 15-25 record. But the injury concerns are just part of the problem. The real issue is money. Davis is making $54 million this year, with $58 million guaranteed next season and a $62 million player option for the year after that. That's a massive financial commitment for a player who can't stay on the court. Rich Paul has been pushing hard for Dallas to extend Davis beyond his current deal, essentially doubling down on their investment. The Mavericks have made it clear they won't do it. This is where it gets interesting, with Davis refusing to consider opting in for that final year unless he gets extension security. Dallas knows they're likely losing him for nothing after next season, so why not trade him now and get something back? That logic has opened the floodgates for teams who think they can manage Davis's injury risk better than Dallas has. The Toronto Raptors emerge as the most realistic landing spot, and they've remained interested even after the injury news broke. Toronto is desperate for frontcourt help. Jakob Poeltl has been dealing with back issues all season, and their lack of interior presence has been glaring. The Raptors have the pieces Dallas wants. They could send back R.J. Barrett as the centerpiece, potentially including Emmanuel Quickley or Poeltl to make the salaries work. Here's where it gets tricky though. Dallas wants expiring contracts and draft picks, not long-term financial commitments. They're trying to clear cap space, not take on more expensive players. The problem with Toronto's offer is Quickley's contract. He's owed over $32 million per year through 2029. That's exactly the kind of long-term money Dallas is trying to avoid. Unless Toronto can find a third team to take on Quickley's deal, this trade becomes much more complicated. The Atlanta Hawks represent the most aggressive pursuit. Before Davis's injury, they were reportedly the team pushing hardest to acquire him. The Hawks just traded away Trae Young, giving them salary cap flexibility they haven't had in years. They want Davis badly, but there's a catch. They refuse to include their #1 overall pick, Zachary Risacher, in any deal. Without Risacher, Atlanta would have to build their offer around Kristaps Porzingis to make the money work. Porzingis makes decent money and has his own injury history, which might actually appeal to Dallas as a shorter-term commitment. But league insiders remain skeptical that Atlanta would give up enough additional assets to get Dallas to bite. The Hawks are trying to have their cake and eat it too. Land a superstar without giving up their best young talent. Then there's Milwaukee, and this is where things get really interesting. Anthony Davis next to Giannis Antetokounmpo sounds incredible on paper. 2 of the most dominant big men in the league, both capable of playing multiple positions, both elite defenders when healthy. It's the kind of front court combination that could instantly make Milwaukee a championship contender. But timing is everything in the NBA, and Milwaukee's timing couldn't be worse. The Bucks need help right now, not in 6 weeks when Davis returns from injury. They're getting destroyed on a nightly basis, losing games even when their opponents are missing their star players. A trade for an injured Davis doesn't solve their immediate problems, and by the time he's healthy, their season might already be over. The proposed package would likely center around Miles Turner and Kyle Kuzma. plus an unprotected 2032 first-round pick. That's significant compensation, but it's a massive gamble for a team that needs to win games today. Milwaukee's desperation might actually work against them here. They can't afford to wait for Davis to get healthy. The wild card scenarios get even more intriguing. Charlotte could pair Davis with LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller, and their projected top 5 pick in 2026. It would accelerate their rebuild significantly, but it's an enormous risk given Davis's injury history. Are the Hornets really ready to bet their future on a player who's missed more games than he's played over the past 2 seasons? Brooklyn presents another fascinating possibility. The Nets could tank the rest of the season, then have a healthy Davis ready to go next year alongside Michael Porter Jr. and whatever other pieces they acquire. It's a longer-term play, but it might be the smartest approach given Davis's current injury status. Then there's Golden State. And this is where the rumors start to fall apart under scrutiny. The Warriors have been mentioned as having interest, but the salary matching is virtually impossible. To make a Davis trade work, Golden State would need to trade 6 rotation players or include untouchable stars like Draymond Green or Jimmy Butler. The Warriors have already said no to including those core pieces, and Dallas was the team that reached out to them, not the other way around. But here's what's really driving all of this: Rich Paul's master plan. This entire trade saga isn't just about basketball fit or championship contention. It's about Anthony Davis getting his extension. Dallas has clearly cooled on their investment after watching him play fewer than 30 games since the Luka trade. They're not paying him beyond his current deal. Davis and his representation are desperate to find a team that will commit to him long term. Every leaked trade rumor, every report about team interest, it's all designed to create a market for Davis's services. Rich Paul is one of the most powerful agents in the NBA, and he's using every tool at his disposal to manufacture leverage for his client. The injury controversy actually plays into this perfectly. By pushing back against the surgery reports, Davis and his camp were trying to minimize concerns about his availability. They needed to show potential suitors that he's not damaged goods, that the injury isn't as serious as initially reported. It's damage control in service of a larger strategy. But there's a fundamental problem with this entire situation: timing. NBA trade deadlines are chaotic enough without trying to evaluate an injured player's long-term value. Teams are reluctant to give up significant assets for a player they can't properly evaluate. 6 weeks might not sound like a long time, but in NBA terms, it's an eternity. Most insiders believe this trade happens in the offseason, not at the deadline. Dallas will likely continue their tank, secure a good draft pick, and deal Davis during the summer when teams have more time to plan and evaluate. That timeline also works better for Davis, as he'll be healthy and able to showcase his abilities for potential suitors. The teams pursuing him aren't going anywhere. Toronto will still need front court help in July. Atlanta will still want their superstar. Milwaukee will still be looking for that final piece to pair with Giannis. The market will still be there, and probably stronger, when Davis is actually playing basketball again. This is ultimately a story about the modern NBA's obsession with star power, even when that star comes with significant risk. Anthony Davis remains one of the most talented players in the league when healthy. The problem is that when healthy qualifier has become increasingly important. He's missed significant time in 4 of his last 5 seasons, and teams are starting to wonder if this is who he is now: a part-time superstar with full-time superstar salary demands. 6 teams are betting they can solve what Dallas couldn't. They believe they can keep Davis healthy, maximize his talent, and build a contender around him. History suggests that's a dangerous bet, but desperation makes teams do dangerous things. And in today's NBA, where championships feel more attainable than ever for the right combination of stars, someone will eventually convince themselves that Anthony Davis is worth the risk. The question isn't whether Davis gets traded, it's which team will be brave enough or desperate enough to bet their future on his health returning.